it's Doris with Aldi Books. I'm here for a Monday check-in to tell you how Buzzwordathon went and how Nonfiction November is going. So first up, Buzzwordathon, I read 3 Buzzy books. The buzzword was numbers in the title. So first up, I finished The $80 Champion, Snowman, the Horse That Inspired a Nation by Elizabeth Letts. So this was a Cinderella story about this horse, Snowman, who was saved from the slaughterhouse and became a show jumping champion. So that was great, but more so, it focused on Harry Lair, who saved him and brought him into the show ring and his life. So this book is centered right around the time period after World War II, and Harry Lair and his new bride immigrated to the United States on their honeymoon. They started out on a tobacco farm as sharecroppers and quickly worked their way up to Harry working at a private school for girls as the instructor with the horses. And he found Snowman. He would purchase horses at a cheap price and ones that he saw potential in and could train to work in the show ring or at the school with the girls. He assumed that Snowman would be a good serviceable mount for the more timid girls, which he absolutely was. But then he ended up selling Snowman down the road, and Snowman came right back and he found he could jump, and it all snowballs from there, so to speak. But this was just a delightful read about immigration. We saw some flashbacks to Harry Lair's early years growing up in Holland and during World War II, and the reasons why he had to immigrate and what it was like in the United States during that time period, going from an agrarian culture to a more modern technological culture. It was just a really fascinating read and very engrossing. You knew that it was a Cinderella story and it was all going to work out well in the end. But Elizabeth Letts did a really good job of building just that slight amount of tension at each show. So you were like, oh, really, really good one. Next up, I finished A Honeybee Heart Has 5 Openings by Helen Jukes. I did not like this one at all. This was touted as a memoir, a year in beekeeping. What it was in actuality was a woman who is thoroughly knowledgeable about bees, the problems in the bee community at the current time with the bee health, mythology about bees, all the bee things. So it's really apparent that she took all of her knowledge and information and made an outline and then drove her plot to get all of her little info bits in, and it just didn't work well for me at all. The memoir part seemed forced and fictionalized, to be quite honest, and she does admit in the opening that, you know, details have been changed. So yes, no. Then I finished The First Signs, Unlocking the Mysteries of the World's Oldest Symbols by Genevieve von Petzinger. I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting much from this book, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I found the topic engrossing. It is looking at people during the Ice Age and the art forms that they left in the caves. And this is either during her PhD studies or right after she got a grant to catalog all of the geometric symbols that are found in all of these Ice Age caves in Europe. And she's looking at that to try to figure out what these symbols meant, and if, you know, she can find any communication in them, proto writing, she calls it. And yeah, it was just fascinating, her quest to try to understand when people first became people who we are today. Just really brilliant. These are, you know, you typically think of all of the Ice Age art with the horses and the ancient cattle and bison and things, but this is focusing on the symbolism, and really, I never really looked into that much at all. And then just today I finished Almost a Woman by Esmeralda Santiago. This is what a memoir should be, and so much more. So this is the second in a trilogy. The first one is When I Was Puerto Rican, and it's her early years from like 8 or 9 to maybe 12, and it is in Puerto Rico, and she ends up moving to New York with her mother and older siblings. She's the oldest, but you know, the older few of the family. So this one is right after she moves, so from about 12 to 13 to 19 and 20. So it covers about a 8-year time span. So good. So I have had the great good fortune to read this with Heidi from My Reading Life and Alba from Seriella. And Alba herself is Puerto Rican and has also lived in New York. So it's just a very rich experience to be able to read it with her. But one thing I am absolutely loving about this, this series is Esmeralda Santiago has this ability to, I mean, her storytelling is superb. She tells her story so well, but she's so insightful into her own life and her own experiences, and really is able to look outside of herself and to see what she has learned through her life and communicate that with us. So in this one, she meets so many different people from different cultures, the Jewish community, the Indian community, some German travelers through New York, Turkish, all of it, and her insights into the world. This is so good, so very good. And then I just finished Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is a contemporary romance from the UK, and it was just so refreshing. You have this couple that she is very wealthy and moves away from home, realizing that she needs to revamp her life, and she moves into an apartment complex where the apartment superintendent is he was a budding artist, but you know, things happened and he's trying to find himself again. So they meet. Didn't go well initially, but quickly it does, and it was just so delightful. They both have such a positive outlook on themselves and their lives. You know, they have a strong sense of self, is what I'm trying to say. So she is a Black woman, larger sized, very wealthy family, and during her college years she got a bad case of pneumonia, and as a side effect has developed fibromyalgia, and went through a period of extreme pain and trouble getting people to believe her, doctors especially. So she's finally gone through that and found some treatments so that she can cope with the pain, and has realized that she's lost all of her friends and her fiance, and she's trying to rebuild her relationships with others. And our guy, he's from a middle-class family and was doing well, but is coming out of a horrendous relationship with a wealthy woman who hurt him quite a bit. So it was just refreshing that we never got that problematic relationship, struggling, miscommunication kind of thing. It's just falling in love and you know, liking ourselves in the process. So yeah. So I have read 8 nonfiction so far this month, and I have 3 more in progress, and hopefully 2 or 4 more in queue. So I'm off this week, so hopefully going to get a lot more read. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye.